Stephen King has written hundreds of stories with a career that spans decades. And of course, many of his works have been adapted into film and television. I have personally enjoyed many of these films and television shows and miniseries, even the ones that are considered bad. Which leads me to today's video. The ideas and stories are very interesting and have a lot of potential, but it's the execution that falls short. So today, here are 4 Stephen King films that should have been hits. I'm Zach Bishop, and welcome to 4 Films. First up is Graveyard Shift, starring Stephen Matched, that's his name, that's how you say it, and Brad Dourif. As I talked about before, this adaptation of one of Stephen King's short stories could have been a really awesome monster movie, but instead it comes across as a slow, waiting for a monster movie. But again, as I said in my video from last year, the main dialect used by Stephen Matched is unparalleled in its majesty. It's truly amazing, and it is a real shame that the rest of the film should have been that good too. Brad Dourif's character is basically wasted the entire time. His character as an exterminator, spoiler, the giant monster is a rat. It should have played into the plot more, and his character should have done something. Anything. I do still recommend you give it at least one watch just to see how awesome Matched is in it, and to see Brad Dourif being Brad Dourif. I truly believe this film does need a remake. Next up is Thinner. An okay cast, a very disturbing story, almost no budget. Well, no wonder it turned out to be a hot pile of dog shit. Not just dog shit, forgettable dog shit. The kind that you walk around and you go, oh, don't step in that. And then you come back and you step right in it. If this film could have been given more time to actually focus on the internal fears and the struggle that the main character goes through, it could have made more of an impact. So much so that the ending in this film should hit you just as hard as the ending of the Mist film did. Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Because in Thinner, the story even makes you question whether or not the main character should be saved from this curse, thus adding another layer that this film doesn't really touch on. It does touch on the aspect of a revenge cycle, but that's about it. Still, you should give it a watch and make your own interpretation of the thing, but I personally think that it has potential just like all the films on this list, and it definitely needs a remake. In fact, part of it makes me say, oh, Fat Tony. Third up is The Mist. Well, how'd you know? You know, it's a damn shame that the structure of all these adaptations are just twisted around to almost hide the things that are actually interesting in the stories. And The Mist is no stranger to that. A large part of the film takes place in a grocery store, with all the things that are interesting happening outside of the grocery store. Now, I know there's character conflicts within, but when you have an entire town engulfed in mist, and it's horrifying creatures, and they don't know that it's actually from a rip in space and time, in some mountain lab or whatever, it's like, yeah, why didn't you get to that? Like, that's the interesting thing. It just seems like a waste of story potential. Now, the only praise I ever really hear about this film is, of course, the ending. You know, the depressing as hell, over-the-top ending. And at the time of watching it, I was shocked too. I was like, wow, I really did not expect that to happen. And as horrible as it was, I even kind of chuckled a little bit, because I was like, wow, holy shit. They went there. They just made that happen. And that's the thing that's also missing from a lot of adaptations of anything, not just Stephen King films, is when there's something in a story that actually serves a purpose, even if the purpose is to shock you, but story-wise it's relevant, I think it should remain in there. Last but not least is The Dark Tower. Okay, so no matter what, this movie was not going to do well. And that's only because it should have been either a long show, a sprawling epic show, or even a miniseries where you had time to flesh out the characters and the story and really get into the lore of the books. Even like a quadrilogy of films, because you would need at least that much time to properly get at least part of the story done. And it's a PG-13 rated, sanitized, hour and 34-minute film. What'd they think was going to happen? So yes, even a series of films leading up to it would have been much better, so we could get little hints of it leading up to the bigger story. Just imagine, like, Carrie and The Shining and It and Doctor Sleep, among others, all having little hints in them leading up to what would become the Dark Tower trilogy. Or a double trilogy, I mean, go crazy with it. One positive for me, at least, is the three main characters. Jake, Roland, and Walter. Jake and Roland, you know, they do fine. They're pretty good. But it's Matthew McConaughey as Walter that is just perfect. This is the role he was born to play. Now, a lot of people thought that McConaughey as the Man in Black was a bit too much, like he was over the top or cheesy or something. But to me, he wasn't like, you know, writhing his hands and twirling a mustache and scheming. He just didn't care. Now you could say, oh, that's the actor not caring, but no. The character doesn't care. He is truly a monster through and through. Plus it also helps that I never really liked Matthew McConaughey. Like, ever. He's great in A Time to Kill, but that's it. I don't like him as an actor. That's why I do give praise where it's due, and in this case I think he did a great job as a horrible soulless beast. So hopefully this film and the others get remade in some capacity, and hopefully the series that they made about the books, The Dark Tower, actually gets picked up, because there was a pilot shot, but Amazon passed on it as of this time of recording, so who knows what the future will bring. I just hope that there's more Stephen King goodness to come. I wonder what he's cooking up in his demented mind. There. All done. I guess the good citizens of Woodcrest Hills don't have to worry about that haunted pinecone anymore. What in the name of dairy? Ah! A yard monster! Hey, that gives me an idea for a book. Sweet meteor shit! A hanger monster! Sweet Susanna! Face cheese!